That's the absolute, those are the things they're most afraid of. If you teach people to have standards for themselves and to be morally strong people and to know right from wrong, then they can't brainwash you.
Yeah.
So that's what they're most afraid of. They're most afraid of young men waking up and going, no, I don't believe that. You have to believe it. No, I don't believe it. I don't want to. And I want to go do this. I want to go to the gym and be strong, or I want to believe X, or I want to be a moral person. They genuinely have a problem with baseline morality.
Yes. Yeah.
Understand? When some people recognize when I converted to Islam that there was a time I was an atheist. There was a time when I was atheistic. And the reason I am now so absolutely certain that God is real is because I've seen evil. I've seen shaitan. I've seen it. When you see enough evil, you realize that there must be an equal and opposite force. And there are people out there in the world today doing the work of the devil, genuine demons, who are trying to destroy the baseline morality that's inside of all of us. We're all born with some kind of morality, and they're trying to destroy it.
And that's exactly the Islamic understanding, that we believe that you're born with something called fitrah, which is the initial goodness. You're born with an innate belief, receptivity to believe in one God. Yeah. And then that is corrupted. In fact, there's a prophet, hadith of the Prophet, where he says, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ. Every born child is born upon this initial goodness. فَأَبَوَاهُ يُهَوِّدَانِهِ أَوْ يُنَصِّرَانِهِ أَوْ يُمَجِّسَانِهِ. And then his father and mother, or his parents, they socialize him into, you know, Christianity, Judaism, Magiism. So the idea is that everyone is born with this initial goodness and this initial will or want to believe in God, one God. And then, as you mentioned, I mean, it's what you're mentioning here is profound, because you're mentioning a central doctrine in Islam.
But it's and this is why perhaps I found God the way I did, because I understood all these things first, and then I saw the Quran, and it confirmed so many things for me. You know, like even the conversations I've been having so far, so many things have been confirmed, and it's amazing the knowledge that's inside of it, which is so applicable today. For an old book, right? You know, it's supposed to be old, but it seems so timeless. But it's truly amazing. But you're totally right. And the baseline morality, I don't think most people understand that when they're doing this under the guise of tolerance, when they're saying be so tolerant that you no longer believe in right from wrong, they're not doing that to make society a better place. They're doing that to empty your brain so that you have no resistance to the slave mind programming. They want to get you to a point where if they tell you the sky is green, you look at with your own eyes and you see blue, but no, the sky is green. That's what they want, so that you have to have nothing in your brain that can prevent that. If you have God, if you have, no, I believe this is right and wrong, if you have personal responsibility, if you have self-accountability, if you're a person who sticks up for what he believes, all that's bad to them. They want all of that gone so they can tell you the sky is green. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want the stream to end, but they're going to tell you something much worse than the sky is green. They're going to tell you something else. And they're trying to program us all into slaves, and it's scary.
I remember when I was in my undergraduate days, and I was reading a particular book by this guy called Jeremy Bentham, who became, like, you know, the spiritual forefather of J.S. Mill, who is the father of, like, social liberalism of today. And I remember reading this because it was so powerful, because it linked to something I read in the Quran. He said that, you know, you have two gods. He said you have the God of pain and you have the God of pleasure. And I thought, this is so interesting. The Quran states, you know, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهُ هَوَاهُ. Have you seen the one who takes his own desires as a God? And because now there is no transcendental force that we can look up and, as you say, venerate, now we're forced to be slaves to the system, we're to our own desires. Or, I mean, the Quran has another verse which I think is so powerful, and it connects very well with what you're saying. It says, God ضرب الله مثلا رجلا, that God has struck a parable of a man, فيه شركاء متشاكسون, that he's got many different slave owners. ورجل سلما لرجل, and another kind of man who's only got one slave owner. God is basically telling us in the Quran that you've got one example of one individual who's got multiple slave owners, and another one with just one. He says, هل يستويان مثلا, are they the same? So here the idea is, as Rousseau said it, he's a liberal philosopher, he said that man is born free but everywhere in chains. This is the order, because if you don't have that God to worship, then you're going to end up having to worship to everything else. And the whole part of the Shahada which you took, which is Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, the true meaning of that, La ilaha illallah, is that there is no God worthy of worship except for one God. Which means that your desires or the system or these people that want to control us, The problem is they're not worthy of worship. The only one worthy of our subordination and submission is the creator of the heavens and the earth. There's no one else.
I agree, and I completely agree, and I've agreed with this for the longest time. You know, I've never been to like a music concert, and people ask me why, and I said, I just look at it and I feel embarrassed. I look at someone up on a stage dancing around, and I look at hundreds of thousands of peasants in the crowd, just yeah. I'm like, it's I feel cringe. It's like secondhand embarrassment when I see these festivals and everyone's losing their mind, or these music concerts. I genuinely feel embarrassed for the people who go, because to me that is a form of worship. Like, you can listen to the music at home for free. You don't have to wait in that line and stand out in the cold. Like, I don't know. Perhaps it was a bit extreme, but I've always known that they're trying to give us false idols to some degree. And when I speak to atheists, they go, oh, I don't believe in God. But they've signed up so hard to the liberal woke agenda. They're as religious as anybody, but they're just believing in the wrong things. They're believing in degeneracy, and they're believing in the work of the devil. So humans always need something to believe in. And it's a great thing you said about your own desires. It's like, one guy I was talking to since my conversion says, it's interesting that somebody with everything, all the Western world, everything somebody could want has now converted. And I said, yeah, because even before my conversion, I understood that hedonism is a black hole, and you can never fill it. You're never going to be able to have enough girls to be happy with girls. You're never going to be able to have enough money to be happy with money. You're never going to be able to, drink enough to be happy with drinking. Like, it's a black hole, and you can pour endless things down it, but you'll never fill it up. And you need to have some degree of self-restraint. And I've always been a very disciplined person. I've never made mistakes. But certainly, the higher power is going to give you more satisfaction in your heart than endless insanity.
Absolutely, because I did see a clip of you making the same points. You were saying that, I've done all of these things. Because the accusation is, well, you are the poster child of hedonism, right? Say this guy, you're talking about.
Sorry to interrupt you. But what's annoying about that is I'm absolutely not. That's what's so annoying about that, because I know so many people of my net worth. I will sit here and say, on the podcast before everybody and before God, voila. Never slept with a prostitute or paid for sex in my life. I don't gamble. I've never taken a drug in my life, never tried steroids, never tried weed, never tried cocaine ever in my life, ever. Never. Like, I drank a bit of alcohol, smoked some shisha, smoked some cigars, and spent most of my life as an athlete, working hard, 12, 14-hour days making money. But I look after my family. So for me to be, they go, you're the poster boy of hedonism. I say, I know so many people who do so much worse than me. I really don't do that much. I'm not gambling.
And from our perspective, if you've done all of that, your slate is clean,
which is amazing. But it's just incredible to me that, especially at my level of net worth, right? I grew up in Luton, poor on a council estate, and now I'm pretty financially successful. And once you get past this line and you meet these other people who are as rich as I am, they get a boat, they put 100 girls on it who are paid for, a big pile of cocaine. I don't do any of them things. Like, I'd stand by and say I'm one of the for a man with a bunch of money from a council estate, I'm as pretty behaved as you can possibly hope for. So.
No, I feel that in you. Obviously, you are in your previous life. You were the world champion in kickboxing. That requires a certain level of restriction, discipline, and these kinds of things. I do think that this is kind of like a misconception.
Yeah.
I mean, people think that it's part of your marketing. It's probably self-induced marketing. It's part of your marketing engineering strategy that you've engineered yourself as, this is my life. But in reality, though, is it fair for me to say that if something doesn't have proper meaning and purpose for you, you won't really enjoy it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, in fact, the number one thing I hear from people who meet me in person is, I've had so many people meet me and they're like, you surprised me. I'm like, why? Like, you're just working, you just sit on your phone, or you just work on your laptop, and like, they thought I'd be this crazy guy running around being crazy, and they realize I'm extremely restrained. I'm very careful about everything I do. From the food.
What's your routine like?
Okay, so it's a good question. So I wake up, whatever time that happens to be.
What time do you wake up?
I have a problem sleeping.
Okay.
I'm not good at sleeping. I really struggle with it. So I can maybe get 5 to 6 hours a night, maybe. And the reason I can't sleep is because if my brain is even semi-conscious, I'm thinking of a work or some problem I have to fix, and then I end up on my phone, and then I can't sleep. That's how it works. So I can give perfect examples. Like, there's even before this podcast, I knew I had to be up I had to go doctors at 8, and then I had to come to this podcast. So I said last night, let me try and go to bed a little bit early. I tried to go to bed at 11, and then I woke up to go toilet at 2:25 a.m. And then I was thinking about some construction in my house in Romania and some invoices that I hadn't seen yet. And then by the time I messaged my assistant, now I'm awake.
Yeah.
So now I've been awake since 2. Like I can't turn my brain off. I struggle with it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not good at sleeping, but let's say I wake up around 9-ish, but I go to bed usually around 3, 4.
Yeah.
First thing I do is drink 2 liters of water. Then I train. Every day I train for about